As I look out, I see a sea of possibility and potential. Row by row, seat by seat, each of us uniquely woven together as special. We are vessels carrying a cargo that unloads healing capabilities. This is essential. So let us grab our pencils and together trace these dotted lines that connect us. Purpose. We define purpose as the reason for which something exists. How often do we think about purpose? Our purpose, the purpose of the things around us. Let's take light, for example. What is the purpose of light? What does light allow us to do? Why do we need light? For a moment, as we consider these questions, I want the room to get dull, and I want us to observe how this experience changes when light is removed from the equation. I want you to take a moment to consider your thoughts in this time, and afterwards I will ask 2 to 3 people to share with me what you thought about, how you felt. So just take a moment to collect your thoughts. Think about, what are you observing right now? What has changed? As the lights now come back, I want you to collect those thoughts that you gathered. And I'm going to ask 2 to 3 people to then tell me their feelings. You, how did you feel during this time? Yes. Nervous. Why? Got you. Cool. How about you, sir? Yes. Yes. Uncertain. Great, great. Yes, you. The darkness consumed you. Wow. Okay. Well, as seen in this demonstration, I believe we only begin to truly understand the power, the purpose, and function of something when they are removed from the equation. As our gentleman just mentioned, the darkness consumed him. It was my junior year here at Brandeis when I studied abroad in South Africa. And there I met Mdu. Mdu was in his early 30s and he walked with a limp. As I got to know him more, we began sharing experiences. He told me that he had polio as a child. He shared his experiences growing up in his community where he faced discrimination. These experiences then motivated him to create the Disability Special Project, which was a gardening project where members who identified as being differently able, they could come and have a safe and brave space to be a part of. Meeting Mdu and hearing his story then convinced me to come back and learn more. When I went back, I met members who were in the garden, and they told me their stories. I remember one of the last questions I asked them: if you were to write a song to the community to help them understand you better, what would you say? They mustn't see me as useless because I can do great things for them. I am strong. I am a human being. I can do things, but they won't let me do them. You see, what I found was that there was a disconnection between this community and their perceptions of themselves and how the greater community viewed them. And I think it was due to an unwillingness of the greater community to now listen to the stories of these individuals. In like manner, I believe a disconnection can also take place when there's an unwillingness of individuals to share their story. And this could be due to instances because of fear. I remember one day sitting in the waiting room with my mother. You see, earlier that morning, we had picked my brother up from school because he complained of something being wrong with his head. As we sat there, I looked over to Mom. There was a tear in her eye. "What's wrong, Mom?" I asked. "Joe, I hope your brother doesn't have the same condition." "What condition?" She said, Joe, before you were born, your father was diagnosed with a mental condition. Mental condition? What do you mean mental condition? She said, I never really did get a sufficient answer. But you see, this was the man who would drive me and my brother to school every morning and pick us up every evening. This was the man who taught me how to play chess and checkmate my opponent in 4 moves. You see, this was the man who would pop in his favorite classic vinyl CD every Saturday morning and dance with us. What do you mean mental condition? I was confused. I felt deceived. How could he not tell me? I began to see my dad differently. I placed blame and resentment on my dad. Only years later am I now beginning to understand the mental stigma, the paralyzing stigma that surrounds mental illness. And I believe as a result of this stigma, he was unwilling to share his story with me, which resulted in a disconnection. You see, my dad and meeting Mdu and the members of that community, those 2 experiences have something in common. In both instances, a narrative or story was removed from the equation, resulting in disconnection. As seen earlier in our example with light, I believe we only begin to truly understand the purpose and function of something when it is removed from the equation. Without light, we cannot see. Without light, we are isolated. We are in darkness. Without light, we are blinded. I believe it is the same with our stories. Without our stories, we are in disconnection. You see, our stories harness a power that can connect us. The moment we stop sharing our stories, the moment we stop listening to the stories of others, is the moment we cut ourselves off from those connections. Each and every day, we are gathering and collecting new stories. And every day we have another opportunity to both share our story and listen to the story of someone else. I believe no matter who we are, no matter where we are in the world, our stories are the thread that connect us together, and we can't lose that. That is the healing factor. You see, at Brandeis, I was a pre-med student, and I am on the journey towards medical school currently. However, no matter everyone here sitting here today, I believe we are all healers. And it is by that fact when we understand the power of our own stories. Recently, when I went back to that community in South Africa, in Sandanezwe, I went with a willingness to listen to the stories of these members in this community. And I found that a door was open. You see, their stories began flooding out at me. And they were so happy to have someone who was willing to listen to them. In like manner, when I started to understand more about this paralyzing stigma that surrounds mental illness, I again began to see my father differently. You see, he was more open to now sharing his experiences with me and his story. And as a result, we became closer. Recently, I came across a video by an artist named Joyner Lucas for his song titled, I'm Not Racist. And while the song may be controversial to some, I find it as a powerful and perfect example of the power when we share our experience, our stories, our perspective, and listen to the perspectives of someone else, especially if they're different than us. You see, in the first verse, it is narrated in the music video by a white male individual, and he shares his perspective of race relations in America. He ends his verse by saying, there are 2 sides to every story, and I wish I knew yours. The second verse then responds, and it is played by a black male individual who then shares and responds with his perspective of race relations in America. And he replies, there are 2 sides to every story, and now you know mine. At the end of the video, after the second verse, I believe this is the most powerful point in the video. I see these 2 individuals get up, and they embraced each other. If you could, for this moment, with consent, reach out to someone who you do not know right now. Reach out, give them a handshake, give them a hug, show them some love. All right, great. You see, in this moment, we just shared a connection. And that's what these two individuals did. In that moment, they broke down stereotypes. In that moment, they broke down biases. They shared their perspectives, and a connection was made. Those two individuals, my dad, Ubuntu, and the members of this project, they all remind me of a concept, a philosophy that I learned about while studying in South Africa. And it is called Ubuntu. If you could say Ubuntu with me, Ubuntu. Ubuntu. One more time, Ubuntu. Ubuntu. It simply means I am because you are. Repeat after me, I am because you are. One more time, I am because you are. You see, I am. The only reason I exist is if I know who you are. The only way I know who you are is if I've heard your story. You see, Ubuntu speaks to this idea that we are all connected by the simple fact that we are human, that we share humanity. Our stories and our narratives, in which we all have to share with the world, they harness a power that can heal both personally and collectively. Today, as I share this with you now, I am becoming a part of your story, and you a part of mine. Thank you.